Welcome to the WriterDojo Special Edition. Recently, the cast of the WriterDojo were all together for FenCon in Dallas-Fort Worth, and we recorded this in front of a live studio audience. There might be some problems with the audio, and there's not much I can do about it, but I'm going to drop another episode as well, so you can feel free to skip this one if you like, or not. We don't care. It's free. Enjoy! Or don't. We're not the bosses of you. Okay, bye!
Hello, Texas!
And me, I'm here too, Jack Wylder. Hello.
What's up, Jack?
Woo! Today's episode, live from FenCon 2022.
The WriterDojo is recorded in front of a live studio audience. All right, everybody, welcome here. Thank you so much for joining us for our first ever for you, it's live. For everyone who's going to listen to it later, they can suck it. So, welcome to the first ever live edition of the WriterDojo.
We'd like to thank every one of you.
We do have quite a nice little crowd here for us, and thank you guys so much. The three of us here, we all kind of got in on Thursday, I think it was, and had our signing and stuff over at the Half Price Books, and so many of you showed up, and so many of you had such kind words to say, for us about the WriterDojo and how it's helped you. And thank you guys so much for listening. And for those of you who are supporters, thank you so much for doing that. This is the only way I can buy brisket now. So thank you. And for those of you who aren't supporters, guys, did you know that for just 99 cents a month, you too can become a supporter for us, which helps Steve and Jack quit our horrible, terrible day jobs to join Larry in luxury somewhere on his mountain.
Neighboring mountains.
Neighboring mountains.
I'm just in it for the brisket. Guys, it's been a pleasure to be here. We've had a great con. You guys have been absolutely awesome. Texas has just treated us so well. And best thing about this coming together, and we were able to record a bunch of episodes here, which will be airing. But we actually got to record with Jack Wylder. And normally he is remote because he lives in Texas. He's a local boy here, which, Texas standards, that's like a 4-hour drive. Mm-hmm. So we actually get to do this with Jack. And so we are going to do, this episode is going to be a special behind the scenes, how the sausage is made episode. Jack, how is sausage made?
About once a month, more when possible, but about once a month, Larry comes down from his mountaintop and he descends to the lair of Mr. Diamond here, and they eat burritos.
We do. They're wonderful burritos.
Lock themselves in a small room with bad ventilation.
That's less great.
And they spend a few hours hacking and complaining about the smoke blowing in from California.
That's legit.
And occasionally there's little bits and pieces that I snip out and piece them together, and they put them out, and we distribute them every Wednesday wherever you listen to your podcast.
Now, I think Jack is understating the amount of work he does. So a little behind the scenes here is Steve and I used to work together. We were accountants at a defense contractor together. We shared a room for like a year and a half.
Not all at the same time.
Yeah,
like,
we got to go home.
We did go home sometimes.
Occasionally we got to go home. When there weren't whenever Lockheed didn't screw up their paperwork, we got to go home. So not very often. Thankfully, their missiles fly better than their paperwork. Okay. No, so we talked about this for years, doing a writing podcast, but we were technologically illiterate and complete morons on that kind of thing. Along comes Jack, and if you guys know Jack from the Monster Hunter Nation, Jack is the marketing daimyo of Correia Tech. He knows all this stuff, and Jack volunteered to do all the work of all the hard stuff that makes all this possible. And so when he says he takes little bits and he splices them all together, some episodes are cleaner than others. How much time does it take you on average in a week to put together one of our 35 to 45 minute episodes?
About 3 to 4 hours.
We try, Steve and I try, to be relatively clean.
If we're in the middle of winter and there's nothing there that can kill us, we do a little bit better. But today is not that day. And there's so many. At some point, we should probably do like a cough and sniffle count internally to see how many times we do this. Again, you guys see like a 35 on average, like a 35 to 40 minute episode. That on a good day, that episode takes us 45 to 50 minutes to record. Not too bad, right? On a bad day, it's double, because I have to do this to Larry, and then I start hacking up a lung, and then it's contagious, and then Larry starts hacking up a lung, and then we just pass it back and forth. It doesn't sound that sanitary, but I promise it's okay.
Two guys with bad allergies and asthma decided to do a podcast together.
You really shouldn't pass that long back and forth.
I mean,
between the two of us, we share half a lung.
yes.
This is a complete non sequitur then, but it has recently come to our attention, Mr. Horror writer over here, Steve Diamond, writer of horror.
Did you know that I write horror?
I did.
Oh.
We've heard tell, the horror guy. We have heard that there's a drinking game that people have started playing where when Mr. Horror over here says the word horror, you have to drink.
You have no idea how much trouble you're going to be in.
Y'all are gonna die. The license plate of his truck is horror.
Literally. Somehow it was available. But yes. I as soon as I heard this, my first comment was, "Oh, I'm going to weaponize this so bad. Y'all are screwed."
Well, we actually last night planned, I think, would be the greatest episode ever.
No,
I won't
classified.
give it away, but
Classified.
it's classified. We have planned
Classified.
at this con. We have planned the greatest episode ever, which we will have for you guys in the future. Yes, but I will say no more about that.
So as far as the origins of the podcast, see, I'm bringing it back around. These two talking together, most of what you hear is stuff they're doing anyway. Like, this is how their friendship, their discussions, their talks. I just wanted you guys to hear it too, because this is legitimately them, and their relationship is what makes this podcast work.
Our relationship is what's recorded. What makes the podcast actually function is this guy. It was, I think you and I, we were trying to figure out when exactly we kind of had the idea for a podcast. And I want to say it was 6 or 7 years ago.
It was. We were dissatisfied. We were becoming increasingly dissatisfied with the state of writerly advice. And not to bag on anybody else, but I mean, if you guys in the audience are all aspiring writers, and there used to be a gold mine out there of people hanging out and talking and having ideas and sharing ideas. And then over time, that just started getting stifled, and some of the funnest things out there, they just put a pillow over its face and held it down until it quit kicking. And we don't, we try not to bag on people on the air. And in fact, a lot of times we'll get spun up, and we will, and then we have these little clickers. We have little dog clickers that will click. So there's a spike on the audio, so Jack can see it.
When I'm editing, you can see the waveform, and it'll go. I'm like, okay, that's one, and they'll click it to come back in, and that just goes away.
But there'll be times where Steve and I will get personally spun up about somebody in the writing business, and we will go off about so-and-so being yeah. It's like, yeah, that guy does a lot of cocaine. It's a bummer his wife was sleeping with his brother, and so stuff like that We'll say that like, click.
You'll hear the click. Jack, we're going to need you to edit that whole part out. Thank you. But no, we started it. We've been going back and forth, and I'm not exactly sure when we actually said, you know what, enough is enough. We're just going to do this. But I started looking around for recording equipment, and I was driving myself insane trying to figure it out. And then at my day job, I hired a guy at work by the name of Craig Nybo, who, if you listen to the show, you know we thank him pretty often. And Craig, who composed the music for our super funky theme song.
And he's been the episode about music.
The Rhythm of Writing.
The Rhythm of Writing. You remember that episode?
Yeah, that's correct.
I think one of our finest
Fantastic
episodes to date. And I was telling Craig, I said, hey, dude, I said, look, I need a couple recommendations for equipment and how can I make like a recording studio and all this stuff. And he goes, well, why would you want to do that? I said, well, I just told you we want to record a podcast. And he goes, no, you don't understand. I have a recording studio across the street from where we work. So it's much cheaper for you if you just come over here and do that in the room that I've already built for this. And I said, well, okay. I mean, that's awesome. And at the time, I didn't even really truly know Jack at the time. And Larry's like, oh, by the way, I have this guy that can do all this stuff for us. I'm like, well, then why was I working so hard?
Well, and so behind the scenes, I have worked with Jack for many years.
15 years.
Yeah, so we got to know each other a long time ago when I was still in the gun business before I was a writer. Well, I was an aspiring writer, and I was in the gun business, and he was a salesman for a gun company here in Texas. And that's how we got to know you. I didn't know if we wanted to drop any names, but and that's how I got to know him. And we hit it up because he would just call me on the phone every week to sell me stuff, and be like, I have the following cool things, and I'm like, cool. And then we just started like talking, like having conversations.
Quick note: the reason I got his account was he called up there, and they listened. They said, "Hold, please." And they said, "Jack, we've got a company called Fuzzy Bunny Movie Guns, dude. That's all you."
We actually wound up being like the biggest dealer in the country for this brand for a couple years. There were wholesalers who were above us, but we were like the biggest dealer for a couple years. We sold a lot of guns. A lot of guns, and which is good for both of us. And but we actually got to know each other talking on the phone during this, and we turned out we were both science fiction fantasy nerds. And then
I think it was our second year together at SHOT Show.
Yeah, and so we're hanging out at like in Las Vegas at SHOT Show, which is awesome. If you haven't been, and we start talking about just sci-fi and fantasy stuff, and this is a guy who's read sci-fi and fantasy his whole life, and me too. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm gonna self-publish I'm self-publishing a movie or a book called Monster Hunter International, and it's like, you want a copy?
And so I threw money at him, and I had to work the convention. But I still finished the book in 2 days. And I told Larry, I said, dude, you are going to be so big. And he said, well, I don't know. I said, no, trust me on this. You're going to be huge.
It was funny because Jack was one of my very first people that gave me feedback because I started out selling my self-published novel on internet gun forums. That's where I started out. And so he was one of my very first readers. But we just kind of hit it off. And when we wound up hanging out in Vegas every year for SHOT Show, and I did a whole bunch of SHOT Shows in a row. And then when I was no longer, once my business went out of business, I still went and I worked for other companies at SHOT Show, and I would still see him there. And whenever he'd come to Texas, when at the company I worked with, Steve would send me to Texas once in a while for training stuff and military contracting stuff at San Antonio. I would drive up to Austin and hook up with Jack, and then when the career took off, and he knows all the swag stuff because he was the marketing guy for a gun company, and so we just started doing stuff together, and all the Monster Hunter swag and stuff exists because of you.
This guy. And the lovely Mrs.
And the lovely Mrs. Jill Wylder. But no, what happened was I started seeing online people were saying, I ordered this patch 3 weeks ago. Why haven't I gotten my patch? Where's my patch? Where's my patch? And I said, Larry, what are you doing?
Well, because it was me and my kids.
And he's like, dude, I got a day job, and I'm trying to write books. I haven't gotten to the post office. And so I looked at it, and he was selling patches for $1. And I asked him, I said, how much are you paying for this patch? And he told me. And I said, how much are you paying for shipping? And he told me. I said, so you're losing money every time you sell a patch, and you're pissing off your customers because they're having to wait. He said, well, if you put it like that. I said, why don't you let me handle the patches? I'll handle the patches. You make with the words.
Because even back then, my thing was, it wasn't like the swag stuff wasn't. I wasn't trying to make money as much as I was trying to make fans happy, and get them like ownership in like Monster Hunter and feel like they belong. And so that's why I was doing it. But you gotta understand, my packing department at the time, Hinckley, my daughter, was.
Would that be published author Hinckley Correia?
Published author now, adult, grown-up Hinckley Correia. But at the time, she was like 13 years old, and so people were like, they would get their packages, and it was like 13-year-old girl handwriting on the package. And then I tried drafting her younger sister, who at the time was 11, and so that was my shipping department. It was not good. And then people would be like, oh, my order was wrong. It's like, well, that was because it was packed by an 11-year-old. So Jack, we teamed up, and we've been doing that ever since. I've had a lot of really awesome people help me over the years of my career. And actually, I got one of the moderators for the Monster Hunter page here. I'm going to call out Jesse Barrett, because Jesse's in the audience.
Jesse.
Oh, he's going low key and denying it, but Jesse is one of the moderators on the web and has saved our bacon many times and put in a lot of work just because the dude just loves the people and loves the community, and he's awesome. So thank you very much, Jesse. We got some good people, and so that's how we hooked up. That's how I knew Jack. That's how I knew Steve, and we came together and started doing this just over a year ago.
And it was, I think even Larry and I were a little surprised that very first time we met to like legitimately record. We sat down, we recorded I think 5 episodes that very first night. And afterwards, I mean, we at the time we tried much harder to stay towards 30 minutes. Now we kind of just go, eh. Sorry, Jack. And so it was, that's 2.5 hours at minimum of recording, and we did it in just over 3 hours that very first time. And afterwards we got out, we walked downstairs. The recording studio is on the 2nd floor of a building. Walk downstairs, we go out, and we kind of look at each other, and we're like, yeah, we're pretty awesome, right? Nice, yeah. Hopefully Jack's okay with this. But we felt pretty strong. We felt pretty good about it. And then as Jack put together and edited all the episodes, and we were listening to him to see how we sounded, the first reactions were, I can't believe that's what I sound like. This is terrible. And then it was, we actually sound pretty good. And that's a testament to us being able to use really good equipment. And then the other part is this guy making sure we just don't suck. And so that's kind of been the life of it thus far.
And if you want to see how bad we are without him, there was a couple episodes there.
That was my fault.
Where Jack almost died of COVID, and it like took him out, like it hit him hard.
Steve foolishly thought, how hard can this be? So I'm sitting at my kitchen table on my little tiny writing laptop trying to, why won't this just edit? I can't make this work. Where's Jack?
The one episode where there's like a computerized voice doing all the intro and everything else, I was literally laying sideways on my couch with my laptop turned sideways, going, I have to get it out. It's due tomorrow. It's due tomorrow.
Can't have Steve do any more episodes.
And I was like, you guys, we could take a week off. And like, no. Both of you were like, no.
We made a promise every Wednesday that the podcast is going to be there. And we owe it to the people who are supporting us, because that 99 cents a month is helping these guys.
These two right here.
Brisket.
Nice.
We like you more than everyone else.
We like you 10 times more than the others. You are
Except
10
Rick.
times better than everyone else.
I know that, and so you bought my love.
Their love can be bought.
Yeah. I'm. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that too loud. I might get popped for solicitation or something.
That's true. Yeah. There's rules on that. Now, here's the thing, though, guys. We do this because, like, we're writers and we love writing, and I want my goal going into this, because I'm a busy dude, man. I got like 10 million irons in the fire. I don't have enough brain space for half the stuff I want to do. And everywhere I go, anywhere, people are like, hey, when are you going to do this? I don't know, because I'll get to it. But the thing is, I'm passionate about this stuff, and because of you guys, because of the writers and the aspiring writers and the people who want to like make careers of this. I want to see you guys succeed. I want to see you guys be successful. I want to see you guys be happy and make money. I want to see you guys quit your day jobs.
Especially us.
Especially Steve and Jack. I'd love that.
We were talking about it the other night, and we're not sure exactly who, but we're fairly confident that the next big thing, the next big writer, is out there right now listening, and it maybe it's just our hope, but we're really hoping that the next big writer is out there listening to this, and they're going to be able to later on say, yeah, that Larry Correia and horror writer Steve Diamond really
Did you know that I write horror? I love horror so much.
You're all gonna die.
So we want you guys to take what they're trying to teach you and all, and go out there, make money, make books, build your brand.
Yeah, and to me again to just solidify this whole point, we've had a few guests on the show. We've recorded a few episodes while we've been here, and what we've been telling them and what people have been telling us, and that's that, my gosh, like we've had so many people come up to us this week and say, hey, the stuff that you've been saying, it's useful, it's helping, and thank you. And for us, like, that's one of the biggest compliments that we could ever receive. And Jack, the story that you've shared a couple times that is really awesome, and I want this to sink in for you guys. We had a person say that they discovered Larry's books because of the podcast. That's awesome.
That's actually a logistical thing that's kind of cool. Like
cool.
the repercussions of that are actually pretty cool, because when you start out something like this, like you're drawing upon the group of people who know you, and then so if you expand beyond that, like those Venn diagram circles, that's a big deal. So we got some goals. I mean, we know about, like I said, not as far as podcasts go, we know about how big writing podcasts can be, because there's not that many people that read books, and there's even fewer who want to write them. So you guys are nuts. All right, you're already statistical outliers. But no, so we know how many people are out there who want to try to do this. And we go to a lot of events, we go to a lot of cons, and we've been on hundreds and hundreds of panels. Steve has moderated 80% of them. And so the goal is just to take this kind of stuff that we would get at events like FenCon, like LibertyCon, like DragonCon, and those good, cool panels and the knowledge on there, and try to distill it down and share it with people who don't have the opportunity to go to all that stuff all the time.
And the really cool thing is, I think for a little bit, Larry and I were were fearful, and we didn't verbalize it until we'd had Dave Butler on the show and after he'd left. And that was, we kind of looked at each other and said, whew, I mean, I was kind of worried we were going to run out of topics. I mean, we're doing this every week. This is a lot. But every time, just like writing, you know, we say all the time, you could give any and every one of you the same topic, and you'd write a different story. Well, the same is holding true for when we have guests on and we're going over topics. We could have we could have all these different people on and do the same topic, and it's going to be a radically different show for y'all. And and for some of you, one person's is going to, you know, we had Chuck Gannon on, so you can look forward to an episode with Chuck Gannon, and he talked about world building, and his approach and the things that mattered in his mind were completely different than when Dave Butler was on talking about it, or when Larry and I have talked about it. And for someone, somewhere out there, it's going to ring true for that person, where perhaps Larry and I, it just didn't get through to them. And that's what I think is super awesome. And I mean, gosh, there's so many different ways to come at this. And I think that's where the fun is, and I think that's where the versatility is in writing. And that's, you know, tools in the tool belt, as we always say.
Yeah. I gotta say, and for me, I have basically a handful of guys that are like my best friends in the world. And it's funny because these two didn't know each other. No. But they were on my short list of guys. They're like they're like dudes I consider my brothers, right? They're straight up. They're my friends, but they're my brothers. And there's a handful of them in the world. And so for me, it was a chance to get two guys that I consider that close, and to just do a project with them.
And it turns out we hate each other. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, just like actual brothers. So. No, and so for me. I guess other than this, we have to like bring in like Mike Coopery.
I know it's a very short list of people that you can work with, and issues are always going to come up. We were talking with Tony Weisskopf this morning on another episode that you guys are going to adore. So, and one of the things she was talking about, small spoiler, was trust. And Chuck brought this up last night in one of the episodes, the trust that you have. If you have trust in the people that you're working with, like the three of us have, that makes a world of difference. And it means everything to us. And I think that's been, for me, that's been one of the cool. I mean, look, Larry and I, we've been super close and good friends for a long time now. And now, you know, me and Jack, this is the first time I've actually met Jack in person.
That's why
right
I'm at
here.
a convention. I don't do conventions.
And it's been awesome, right? And there's just this natural trust between us because we've been working together and we love each other like brothers.
He hasn't tried
awesome.
to kill me yet.
No. I do that when you're sleeping.
Like a horror writer would do.
You're so doomed. Like, seriously.
You want to do some cues? Want to do some questions?
Yeah, let's do a supporter spectacular.
Yeah.
Supporter, did you know that for just 99 cents,
Well, answer your
you
question.
can become a supporter? But you know what? We're going to waive the cover fee for today. We're going to pretend you're all supporters today.
We're going to have you guys get out your phones. If you answer a question, check the receipt.
I know. Let me give you my Venmo. Hold on.
So
Oh, my gosh.
we had a slight technical problem, but so we don't have the wireless mic.
Okay.
Sorry, Jenny. But we do have a mic up here so people can come. Let me say something about Mr. Todd running away there, the sound
don't
guy.
you run, Todd.
This is the man who has, since Wednesday, been putting this whole thing together, keeping the lights on, making the microphones work, just doing an amazing job. Todd, we love you. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Todd. You've
Not just me, I've got a whole team of folks backing me up, so we've been scrambling like mad.
Todd and his people.
Todd and his people.
Yeah, seriously, guys. Anytime you're at a con, make sure you thank the volunteers, because holy crap, the stuff that goes on behind the scenes.
They do a crud ton of work.
Yeah, it's nuts. So if you got a question for us, come up to the mic. Yeah, just come up to the mic, because we won't be able to hear you otherwise.
And we are recording this episode, so.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
you're loud, but we're recording it.
So one of the most important things, what about Swag. Dojo swag. Are we going to get Dojo
So the
swag?
question
shop?
was, are we going to do WriterDojo swag?
I looked to Jack on that because he is the swag
They're both looking at me.
chieftain.
Classified. Next question.
Well, honestly, it's part of it's like numbers because the Monster Hunter Nation is a lot of people.
There's a lot of people.
There's a lot of people, so it makes it very worth it. Because main thing is like when Jack does swag, it's super time consuming. And Jill, his wife, Jill
Has stepped in because she got tired of seeing me doing this face, which for those of you on the podcast was not a pretty face.
It was not a pretty face. And normally, guys, I mean, he's a handsome man. So for those of you at home.
Taller than Larry. Got a 12-pack,
Built like Chris Hemsworth.
long flowing blonde hair.
Looks kind of like David Spade. No. No. We actually at SHOT Show one year were messing with some people where he
you,
was
me, and
telling
Cooper.
people he was David Spade and I was telling people I was James Gandolfini as we went down the strip. And we actually convinced some drunk people to that effect. And so I do actually kind of look quite a bit like James Gandolfini, and he looks quite a bit like David Spade. So that worked out pretty well. Which is funny though, because in real life, I think James Gandolfini and David Spade are like the same height, and I'm like a foot taller.
So, in answer to the swag question, I'll get Jill to look into it.
Well, because WriterDojo is growing, is growing, but the Monster Hunter Nation is like ridiculous. So, difference between you. All right. So, other questions? Just come up to the mic here. If you guys got a question. All right. Stack up.
So, can each of you speak to? So, you encouraged me to finish my book. I treated it like it was a job. Every morning, get up real early, crank it out, and I'm at the editing stage. What was that like for each of you? What's the hardest thing you'd have to say?
Yeah. That's a hard part. So when you got your day job still and you're trying to like get that time in and get that work in, it's so hard. Because, I mean, your brain is already getting used up by somebody else for 40, 50, 60 hours a week, whatever you do. And then you got family, and you got children. And guys, super important, no matter how much you want to be a writer, don't neglect your family. So family's got to come first. And no matter how passionate you are about your art, if you are not happy at the family life, it's not worth it. Okay, so family's first. Pay attention to your wife and kids. But then getting that time in there, that's such a challenge.
For me, it was, it's the last thing that I want to do. I spent all that time just getting the frickin' thing on paper. And so then it's like, well, crap, now I have to do the edits. I'm literally in this boat right now with the sequel to Residue. I'm like, well, I should probably do that stupid edit. But I think for me, and this, your mileage may vary, as they say, but for me, it's, I can't think about what I'm doing at that moment. I have to think about what is the product going to look like once I finally get it done, and just focus on that. Take a death grip and pull it on that. Because otherwise, I get too lost in my head with the process. And so, as long as I think about, oh well, you know, like with the edits for Servants of War that we did a lot of edits on it. It was a lot of back and forth. But at the end of the day, it was okay. I know I need to make this book good. I need it to be there, and so I just kept focusing there. And that's what helped me get through it. Because again, I work like crazy. I work too many hours, and my time is limited.
Talking to Tony Weisskopf this morning, she talked about how people are different too, and there's not really a right answer on this because some people, they work for a deadline, like you set a deadline, and they'll get stuff done. Other people, you set a deadline and they freak the hell out. So it's going to depend on what you personally, like what you need to do to bridge that gap. So it's just going to have to be finding whatever it is, the secret ingredient for you personally. So, all right. I think we got more people. Okay, come on up and ask a question. Brennan is looking dapper today. He's very Tombstone for those of you watching.
You can adjust that microphone up.
Oh, okay.
Are you our?
There we go.
Are you
Perfect.
our?
Now
are
we're
you
at
our
average
Huckleberry?
height. Yes, I am. So, speaking of Steve's limited time, you guys have obviously been very successful with the podcast. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
How close are we to the goal of getting Steve and Jack away from their day jobs?
We're so screwed. For me, I'm well again, and I'm an accountant, and so I look at everything and I'm thinking, well, okay, I'm literally making decisions over the last week and 2 weeks to decide long term, 4 years down the road, what am I willing to put up with right this minute to ensure that 4 years down the road, like I can pay off my house money, because I'm not gonna go be a full-time writer until I have as few liabilities on my balance sheet as possible, so to speak, accounting speak. And so for me, that's what it is. Like I'm hoping for me that between that and a couple other little side things and everyone becoming a WriterDojo supporter, that 4 to 5 years from now I can do this. Okay. For Jack, I don't know. I think we're equally hosed.
We're screwed.
Yeah.
But you know, the reality is we don't do this for money. I mean, the supporters, we love you guys, not because, you know, we make jokes, but you're not buying Steve brisket really. You might buy some rubs, but it's by doing that, it's validation. It's saying, hey, we see you and we appreciate what you guys are doing, right? That's where the value is, and we're not doing this to quit our day jobs. In reality, I mean, it's fun to say, and it really angers that one lady who is so angry.
The reason we started saying that like in public is because one lady pitched a fit about it, like sent us a very angry email.
I don't know who this Steve Diamond is, but how dare he ask for 99 cents? That's a lot of money every month.
And so when she said that, you guys know me, right?
Yeah.
So at that point, it became a personal blood vendetta that I will,
I think the next episode after that, I think I say it 5 or 6 times.
Yeah,
in the
we
episode.
mentioned it like seriously, it was like,
Don't test me.
Don't test us, lady. You have no idea.
But serious, Brendan, like for us, the reality is we're doing this because we're helping people, like we've been helped. Mm-hmm. If a byproduct of that somewhere down the road means that we can just progress to a different career, then that's awesome. And I hope that happens. But I'm doing this because guys like Larry, Tony Weisskopf, Brandon Sanderson, a guy named James Barclay and Tom Lloyd over in England, because those people helped me be authors. And the only reason I'm doing any of this right now, that I can do this, is because of them. And I have to believe that there's people listening to the WriterDojo that need that same help that I needed. And so that's why I'm doing it.
There's one other thing on that, and I'm probably going to cut this out of the one we go there, because we work really hard to stay non-political or not go there. We try to be neutral, but looking at the great state of things, we need more of our people in the entertainment industry. We need them making the entertainment we want to see. And the best way to do that, the best way you can help, is not only put out entertainment, but support those who do. Whenever you hear an ad on WriterDojo, buy that book, because this is one of our people. This is us trying to retake some of the culture war, and every little bit does help.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks, Brendan.
I'll do this. Now I have to move it down where I am again.
Hey, Dusty.
I really enjoyed being on the panel with you guys yesterday. It's nice to meet you. We were on the panel about social media, and one of the problems I have is I have been published by New York, and I'm publishing on my own because I make more money and I don't have to listen to their crap and have people who don't know what I'm writing about telling me what's right. So
Ghost cats.
Ghost cat. Well,
That's right.
feline health, all that. But my point is, as a self-published author, I have to write, I have to edit, I have to do the layout, I have to do the cover design, or contract this out, and then everyone goes, "Oh, you're so done! It's finished! It's published." No, now the work starts, and you have to do promotion. So, how, when you're trying to keep books coming, can you find the time, or how do you do the promotion as you're doing other projects? Because you can't do one and then stop. You have to keep going. So how do you do that? Where's the time?
That's a tough one, and I probably do more online interaction with my fans than pretty much any other author I can think of. But I genuinely like my fans.
Uh-huh.
And so I mean, I'm not blowing smoke because I'm here at a con. I mean, it's my personality. I genuinely like my fans and I like interacting with them. And so part of it is like when I do the fan interaction, I'm actually kind of having fun. So that's not necessarily, it's not taking water out of my work bucket. You know what I mean? I'm just interacting with them. I'm being myself. And so people talk about like different, like your personality online, I'm the same. Like, this is my personality. This is who I am. And so I interact with them that way. And so a lot of my social media presence, that also gets me in trouble. Because once again, I am who I am. And I don't moderate that. I go out and I have fun with my fans. So
Moderating's my job.
yeah. And so I go out and Steve's like moderates all the things.
But it's a horror job, isn't it?
It is horror.
It is horror.
They would die. They wouldn't even last through this
Hey, Larry.
one panel.
Larry, I think we're starting to run low on time, so we have to speed up and all.
Oh, sure,
But
yeah.
I think this would be an excellent topic that we should come back to and do a full episode.
That is actually, you know what, we
Time
will do
management
that.
for writers.
Thank you so much.
In fact, next time, me and Steve meet. Let's plan on. We'll do a social
So
media.
we'll do that
social
next
media
time,
management.
Dusty, and we'll be
That's
sure to give
good
you a
question.
shout out and Ghost Cat.
Yep.
And if you need something on press releases, just call me.
Will do. Thanks, Dusty.
All right.
Hypothetically, there's someone that hasn't listened to the show, like a friend, and you want to recommend either a favorite episode or a place to start. What would you guys do to get them to actually involved in WriterDojo?
The Rhythm of Writing. Craig Nybo.
Yeah.
The Rhythm of Writing.
Yeah.
They had Craig Nybo on. It was amazing.
That
It
was
nuts.
That was probably one of our very best episodes. So I would agree. That was really solid.
Dave also had a couple good ones there.
Dave Butler on pitching.
Yeah, the Dave Butler one on pitching is probably the one I'd recommend. Gosh, what else?
This we have a Facebook group called WriterDojo, and we can put this up as a poll to see what is your favorite episode. So join the group, and we'll put the question to the people actually listening.
Yeah. I think it'll just kind of depend on what they're working on.
Yeah, I bet it will. The Dojo Awards, is that what you said? Nice.
2 questions. Residue 2, the sequel to Residue, what genre book will it be? And have you ever thought about doing an episode on writing for tabletop adventure, like module type writing?
Interesting. So I'm going to answer the second one first. And
Repeat the question into the microphone.
okay, so the first question was, what kind of genre is the sequel to Residue going to be?
What's that gonna be, Steve?
The second question was, have we ever considered doing an episode on writing for tabletop and the modularity and the adventures and stuff? The second one is pretty easy, and that answer is, yeah, we do that. I've done that. You've done that.
And we've actually talked about some guests, they're friends of ours who do that professionally. That's like their entire job.
And yeah, we could get Alan on easy. A mutual friend of ours, Alan Barr, who owns Gallant Night Games, where I've done a lot of writing for, actually. And then on top of that, I know that there's some potential actual published games. You know, maybe a little gritty cop show coming to a crowdfunding near us at some point in the indeterminate future.
Yeah. Well, actually, and when Jack was Jack has been putting actually quite a bit of work into that. We've actually had some pretty crazy ideas. Yeah. So we could actually talk about. Yeah, we could. Yeah, we could.
Are we talking about that now?
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. No, I don't mean now. I mean.
Yeah. Well, we're not announcing anything official. We're not announcing anything official yet. But I have another Kickstarter to fulfill.
Yep.
But yeah, no. Jack's actually been putting a lot of work in it. It's kind of hilarious. All the stuff you can get out of crime dramas. I love the mafioso name generators.
Nice. And you guys don't know this yet, but the reason why I asked you for the whole rule set the other day is because I'm gonna put a different setting over it.
Oh, really?
Is it a horror setting?
Maybe. So, the sequel to Residue is called Parasite, and it is a supernatural thriller.
Mercy.
Oh my gosh.
We got Emma waiting.
Emma.
Hi, Emma.
Hey, Emma.
Hello. So we were talking a little bit earlier about balancing work and family life, and you guys heard from my husband Brennan just a few minutes ago. I was thinking, as you can see, he and I are both creative type people. We're both hoping to make it as writers and in other creative endeavors. What additional considerations, understanding you guys are not in this situation, what additional considerations would you have when both partners in a marriage are both involved in the same or similar career like this?
It's slightly related but slightly different. My wife Jenny over here, she's very, very hardcore into gymnastics. In the gymnastics world, she competed from when she was like 1.5 feet tall all the way up till she was 2.5 feet tall in college.
She knows where you sleep, dude.
I know. But she's very, very involved in that world still. And so it's, while the two things aren't the same, she has the definite things that she goes to. She goes to gymnastics conventions like we all go to the fun nerdy stuff. And then she sends me messages saying how terrible the moderators are at all the gymnastics conventions. But for us it's just talking about it and saying, hey, well, I've got to be here, you've got to be there. And I think just being respectful of the other's time when it comes to that is one of the biggest things. It's a little easier for us now than it was earlier because our kids are a little older now. You know, they're 10 and 13, and they can stay locked in the closet for hours.
Or they can pack your swag packages.
Well, no, I don't trust my kids to do any of that.
There are because Bridget is a very, very creative person, very artistic person. She actually has the art degree, but also one of the things that's worked in our marriage is that we actually, she calls it the separation of church and state, you know. And so she's super supportive of what I do, but she also but she doesn't ever critique my stuff ever. Yeah. Like Bridget doesn't critique my stuff because I have enough critics. I have very few cheerleaders. I need the cheerleader more than I need the critic.
And that's the same with Jenny. Jenny doesn't read my stuff.
Yeah. So with you guys both being creatives, you're gonna have to find that balance because you really, as a spouse, the most important thing is building your spouse up, because the world will tear him down. But if he's building you up and you're building him up, that's the important thing, rather than you guys tearing each other down. You'll get plenty of that. There are actually quite a few couples where the husband and wife both write.
I mean, Misty and Larry.
Mercedes Lackey, Larry Dixon, the Lee and Miller.
Oh yeah. Sharon and Lee.
Lee Aiden people. So it does happen.
Lots of examples.
There's lots of examples. So yeah, you guys can do it. You just got to figure that out. But main thing is, man, just stay tight and build each other up.
Put each other first.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
Hello. What's up? What's your name, man?
My name is John McNichol.
John, nice to meet you, dude.
Good to meet you. Thank you. Well, this is actually my first con here in Dallas since my family escaped the People's Republic of Portland. So I'm really happy to be here.
Welcome to freedom.
But I know your time is limited, so I'll just keep it very quick. I myself am an author, and I've been published, and my my science fiction area is so niche that I haven't been bothered by the woke crowd. But I'm wondering, number one, have you folks ever been in a situation like this where somebody tossed you a ball and you realized they're really trying to cancel me with whatever my answer thing was? How do you respond to those? And number two, like I said, I'm in a pretty niche market right now, to put it mildly. But what's the first step I should take to break out into kind of your guys' area?
Okay.
I'll let you handle the
Yeah, you
softballs.
deal with those
of-
trying
Well, you
forward.
take the second part. Okay, because there was a bunch of laughter when you said that about being canceled, because I am like kind of legend. Yeah, I mean, like for real. And it's just something. I mean, it's way too long to go into in the time we have left. But yeah, no, they've come at me many times, and actually, I was kind of one of the proto molecules of the culture war, in that I was one of the first loud writers with libertarian and conservative beliefs.
The nail that would not be hammered down.
I was the nail that would not be hammered down. They tried. They still try daily, and it's actually become a running joke. So the best thing I could say is, if you look around the world today, back when I started, there was very few of us. We were a tiny minority, and we were easily pushed to the side. But in reality, it was half of us. It was half of writers. But just they had cowed us into silence. And now, 12 years later, 13 years later, it's not that case anymore. As we're way more united and talking and networking, and the facade is kind of crumbled. It used to be really lonely out there. Like it really was. As an outspoken writer, it was really lonely, and not so much anymore. I have a lot of friends who are in the same boat, and a lot of good people in the publishing industry who are now open. And so the best thing is when it comes for you, don't apologize. Don't apologize if you've done nothing wrong.
Don't negotiate with terrorists.
Don't negotiate with terrorists. We have an episode called "Don't Negotiate with Terrorists." Yeah. So check those out. We go into this a lot, and hopefully it's helpful. And now, breaking out a niche.
We'll do an episode on that.
That's actually a really good one, because we know a lot of people who are like real super successful in one specific area, but who haven't like found mainstream.
Yeah.
Success.
That's a super huge topic, and part of that's going to be marketing that Jack will talk about a lot. So we'll do an episode on that, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well,
actually, we've really got the next 3 episodes that we need to talk about out of this one. So
that's the real use for all this.
Hi. Yeah, D.A. Brock. And this is not so much a question as a thank you. I mean, when I got serious about writing last year, I went back and binged like the first season and a half of WriterDojo till I got caught up to where you were. And there's been multiple episodes that helped me get things going, get my first book published. I'm almost to the point of getting my second book published.
Is that... Are you referring to Texas at the Coronation?
Yes.
And that's available on Amazon?
Yes, it is.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Now,
I'm just looking, guys. We're out of time.
We got time for one more quick one.
One question. So you're our last question.
Well, I'm a sneaky guy. My name's A.G. Thompson. I write with Stephanie Osborne. And I don't really have a question, you guys. I have a present for Steve and Larry.
Oh, hey, we actually
a signed copy of my first book, The Bounty Game.
And we have run ads on the show.
Yeah.
So all of you should go buy a copy or 5 too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now the one thing I want to bring up, one little comment. You talked about binging it and stuff like that. Jack and I, we were having dinner the other night with our boy Rick right here. And Rick,
WriterDojo champion.
Right, Rick is our WriterDojo champion. He is one of our absolute favorite people, and he does a lot of really good stuff for us,
including telling me, dude, it didn't launch an hour ago.
Yeah, he made a really cool. Yeah, clap for Rick. He's awesome. Now, he said something the other day, and I think that's where this is what we want to leave you with. He said, hey, on my way over, I was re-listening to a bunch of the old episodes. And when I was re-listening to them, all these different things stuck out for me that I'd already listened to them, but I got new stuff out of them. Yep. What this leads me to believe is that we are basically the Bible now.
The horror version?
We are the horror version.
You know what I think we should do to go out? I think we should have the audience sing the theme song.
Do you
I
guys
like
know?
this idea. By the way, I think it's wonderful that we have two we have two Mormon authors jumping in on this drinking game. I love that.
We're the only ones who are going to live.
Steve, talk us out.
Working as intended. What am I doing? Say words. This is the Writer Dojo. Thank you so much for joining us.
Down, 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 down. Do-do-do-do-do.
Thank you guys so much. This is the Writer Dojo. We'll see you on the next one. Woo!
Writer Dojo is Steve Diamond and Larry Correia. Theme song,
No, I'm done.